Drew Harmon's fingers trembled on the steering wheel as he sped down the highway, his wife's desperate voice still ringing in his head. Just 20 minutes earlier, he had been deep in plans for prestigious Riverview Heights development, a career-defining project that would solidify his place among the state's most forward-thinking architects. Then his phone rang. Vanessa's voice, unsteady and thick with panic, had uttered only 3 words. "Come home now." His tires screeched as he tore into the driveway. 3 police cruisers, lights flashing, crowded around the sleek, modern house he had spent 2 painstaking years designing. His daughter, 16-year-old Lily, ran toward him, face streaked with mascara and tears. "Dad, please," she cried, grabbing his arm. "Just wait for Mom to explain gently." Drew moved her aside and stepped inside. The scent hit him first, sharp metallic, unmistakable blood, and then he saw it. Red smeared across the pristine white walls of their living room. Vanessa stood near the center, pale and shaking beside a detective, her clothes stained with blood. "Mr. Harmon," the detective said, stepping forward. "I'm Detective Thornton. There's been an incident," but Vanessa interrupted. "I killed him," she said, voice cracking. "He broke in. He had a knife. I had no choice." A man's body lay crumpled on the floor, half covered by a sheet. A knife sealed inside an evidence bag rested on the coffee table. "We believe it was self-defense," Thornton continued. "The deceased appears to be Quentin Doyle. He had a record, breaking and entering, assault. It seems he forced his way in." But Drew was already noticing things that didn't sit right. There was no sign of forced entry. Vanessa, his polished, poised wife, who once screamed at the sight of a spider, had somehow overpowered an armed intruder. As officers moved about the room, Drew's gaze drifted to Vanessa's phone. Left on the table by the front door, a notification flashed across the screen, a message from someone named Preston. "Are you okay? What happened? Call me as soon as you can." Drew's stomach clenched. Preston Walsh, the charming landscape architect he brought onto the Riverview project 6 months earlier, the same man who had suddenly taken a strong interest in helping Vanessa with their backyard redesign. Later that night, once Lily had finally cried herself to sleep and Vanessa, sedated, had gone to bed, Drew locked himself in his office. Driven by a quiet, relentless focus, the same meticulous nature that had made him a successful architect, he started digging. Bank statements revealed suspicious withdrawals. Phone records showed hundreds of texts between Vanessa and Preston. The most damning discovery was a hidden email account filled with messages outlining plans for a new life. Just the 2 of them. But one question remained. Who was Quentin Doyle really? And why had he been in their home? Something about Doyle's face tugged at Drew's memory. Hours later, he found it. Doyle had worked as a contractor on one of Preston's past jobs. A court record revealed Doyle's conviction for assault during a dispute with a client. It wasn't a stretch to imagine Preston hiring him for something off the books. But the plan had gone wrong, terribly wrong. And now Vanessa and Preston were trying to bury the mess. As the sun rose, Drew sat silently in his office, staring out at the pale sky. The man who had entered that office the day before, ambitious, trusting, perhaps even a little naive, no longer existed. In his place stood someone harder, sharper, a man who wouldn't rest until he had the whole truth. And once he did, justice would follow his version of it. 3 weeks passed. The police closed the case, ruling it a justifiable homicide. Vanessa played the grieving, traumatized woman to perfection. She went to therapy, spoke softly in public, and leaned on Drew like a devoted wife. But behind the scenes, Drew had transformed his office into an intelligence center. Walls were covered in photos, timelines, diagrams. Night after night, after Vanessa took her sleeping pills, he worked in silence, pulling threads. He tracked meetings between Vanessa and Preston to a secluded mountain cabin purchased through a shell company that ultimately led back to Preston. Bank records revealed hefty transfers between Preston and Doyle. And then there was a life insurance. Multiple policies on Drew's life, all with Vanessa as the sole beneficiary. This had never been a robbery. It had been a hit as murder, but something had gone awry, and Doyle ended up dead instead. To go deeper, Drew hired Meline Russo, a former military intelligence officer turned private investigator with a reputation for getting results quietly. Melline didn't look like much. Dark-haired, lean, all business, but she had resources most people didn't even know existed. They're still plotting. Melline told him one night at a diner just outside town. Preston's reached out to a guy named Boyd Weiler, ex-military, dishonorably discharged. He handles dirty work for high-paying clients. They're looking for someone to finish what Doyle started, Drew said flatly. Exactly. And they're getting sloppy. Vanessa withdrew another $25,000 yesterday. Keep digging, Drew told her. And Melline, I want recordings, every call, every meeting. While the investigation moved forward in secret, Drew played his part flawlessly. He suggested that therapy wasn't helping, that maybe a change of scenery would do them good. He even floated the idea of selling the house and taking time off. He brought up their insurance policies under the pretense of protecting Lily's future, carefully watching the way Vanessa's expression tensed. Mentioning their daughter was a calculated move. Vanessa might be many things, but she truly loved Lily. Drew also reconnected with key allies. He had drinks with Sonny Blackwood, a powerful developer with city ties who respected Drew's talent. He met with Tara Lennox, a sharp, battle-hardened attorney under the guise of needing legal advice for a colleague. Most crucially, he befriended Weston Miles, a tech magnate who'd recently purchased a regional news network. Over high-end scotch, Drew carefully laid the foundation for relationships he would later call on. Publicly, Drew made a point of welcoming Preston's continued involvement in the Riverview project. Despite the tension, he remained civil, collaborative, even confessional. Sometimes I wonder if Vanessa resents me, he said during one site meeting, eyes fixed on the design plans, like she blames me for not keeping us safe. He didn't need to look up to see Preston shift uncomfortably beside him. The mask was in place. The trap was tightening. Drew Harmon had once built homes. Now he was building something else entirely, something that would bring the entire illusion crashing down. She'd grown distant, and it gnawed at him. He feared for their marriage. Preston offered a few clumsy reassurances, but couldn't meet his eyes. That same night, surveillance captured Preston passing Vanessa, a burner phone, in a dim parking lot outside a discount store. 2 months after Quentin Doyle's death, Drew's phone rang. It was Adeline. They've made their move, she said without any lead-in. Preston met with WI yesterday. I intercepted a text from your wife. It's all arranged, the cabin this weekend. Drew didn't flinch. His voice calm, he answered, then we'll be ready too. He opened his laptop and went over the final pieces of his plan. A blueprint not of concrete or steel, but facts, leverage, and airtight contingencies. For weeks, he'd been constructing it in silence. Now just 3 days remained. 3 days until Vanessa and Preston tried to carry out their plan. 3 days until Drew exposed them. Friday came wrapped in rain and low skies. Over breakfast, Drew told Vanessa he had to drive into the city for a last-minute meeting with concerned investors about the Riverview project. I'll be late. Don't wait up, he said, kissing her cheek, feeling her subtle recoil. Be careful on the roads, she replied, offering a thin smile that didn't touch her eyes. Drew drove to his office, making sure Preston's watcher saw him arrive. Once inside, he exited through a back service door. Melline waited for him in an unmarked car. He picked up his payment this morning. She said as they drove, your wife packed a bag and told your daughter she's staying with her sister because she's feeling anxious. Preston canceled all his appointments. Family emergency, Drew nodded. The cabin fully wired? Every room has audio and video. Our team is stationed nearby. By mid-afternoon, everything was in place. Drew waited in a rented cabin a mile away, monitoring the feeds across several screens. At 4:17 p.m., Vanessa's car pulled into Preston's secluded mountain property. Preston met her with an eager embrace. Inside, their conversation sealed their guilt. They discussed faking Drew's suicide, blaming financial stress from Riverview. Preston had already planted whispers of mismanagement. The life insurance payout would come through, and after a suitable period of mourning, they'd start over clean and free. Boyd knows what to do. Vanessa asked. He's a pro, unlike Quentin, Preston replied. It won't be messy this time. Drew watched with an expressionless stare, the way a designer assesses a building before demolition. At 7:23 p.m., Boyd arrived. Drew sent the signal. A pre-written message dispatched with a single tap. Just over 10 minutes later, police cars close in, sirens cutting through the rain. Lights bathe the cabin as officers storm the premises. Detective Thorne, now in full understanding thanks to Drew's collected evidence, led the arrests. Boyd tried to escape. He didn't get far. Preston insisted it was all a misunderstanding, an innocent meeting. But the recordings told a different story. Vanessa collapsed into a chair, mask shattered as she realized the full extent of the trap. Meanwhile, Drew was in the city establishing his alibi. He mingled at a charity gala, posing for photos with Sonny Blackwood and several public officials. Tara Lennox, fully read in, stood by to represent Drew's interests. Wes Miles, a trusted media contact, ensured the story broke accurately as a criminal conspiracy, not tabloid drama. By midnight, Drew gave a statement to police, the picture of a heartbroken husband blindsided by betrayal. The officers believed every word. But the next day, the real impact of Drew's planning came to light. This wasn't just about an affair. Preston had been siphoning money from multiple development deals for years, including Riverview. Vanessa, with her finance background, had helped to move it through dummy corporations. Drew had stumbled onto their thefts and had to be eliminated, not out of jealousy, but necessity. The charges came fast. Conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, and money laundering. Their lawyers advised them to take plea deals. Preston got 25 years. Vanessa, 17. Boyd, already convicted felon, would never see the outside again. During interrogation, Boyd confessed that Quentin Doyle hadn't been sent to kill Drew, but to steal documents and blueprints. Vanessa killed Doyle during a payment dispute, then staged a break-in to cover it. 6 months later, Drew sat in his newly restored home office. His next project, a groundbreaking urban renewal design, was nearly finished. Across from him, Lily sketched her own concepts, the same creative spark in her eyes that once defined Drew's early career. Therapy and her father's steadiness had brought her peace. A text came in from Meline, who had since become more than just his investigator. Hearings over. Vanessa's appeal denied. Thought you'd want to know. Drew replied with a simple, quiet acknowledgement and turned back to his work. He felt no pride, no lingering satisfaction, just the steady calm of justice fulfilled. The world now knew what became of those who betrayed Drew Harmon. He had dismantled their plans with surgical precision, designing their downfall the way he once shaped skylines, flawless, deliberate, and unyielding. Outside, neighbors still whispered. But now, beneath the gossip lay something new, respect shaded by unease. They'd watched a man evolve from a quiet architect into a tactician capable of outwitting his enemies without ever lifting a hand. Drew shut his laptop and joined Lily for dinner. Tomorrow there would be more challenges. But if anyone else ever thought to cross him, they'd learn the same lesson Preston and Vanessa had. Drew Harmon didn't just design buildings, he designed consequences, and his designs never failed. Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts below. And if you like the story, don't forget to subscribe.